Welcome to the Just Ingredients podcast. I'm Cara Lynn, and here we talk all things nourishing to the mind, body, and soul. This is a place where you can find just good ingredients to life. At Just Ingredients, summer isn't over yet. Celebrate our favorite summer flavors with us as we launch 3 new Just Ingredient products. Have you been looking for a new protein flavor that is fruity, creamy, made with whole food ingredients, and tastes like you're sipping a pina colada on the beach? Just Ingredients Tropical Paradise Protein Powder brings exactly that, packed with 22 grams of protein. If you prefer a plain protein powder to add to your fruit smoothies, coffee, or even your favorite baked goods, don't miss the launch of Just Plain. It's Just Ingredients' new plain protein powder. It brings 22 grams of protein without adding any taste or gritty texture to your favorite recipes. And if protein powder isn't your thing, try our new flavored waters. Like Crystal Light, but much better. Just Ingredients flavored water comes in 3 flavors: raspberry lemonade, tropical paradise, and strawberry limeade. These are perfect for staying hydrated while on the go, working out, or even at home. Set your alarm for August 25th and 26th to grab these new products at a special launch discount. These products won't be on sale again soon, so stock up now. Once again, shop the launch of new Just Ingredients protein powder and flavored waters on August 25th and 26th at justingredients.us. Amber Bodily is a Master FootZonologist and Instructor, Master Herbalist and Certified Aromatherapist, who has guided thousands of people on a healing path from chronic illness to vibrant health. She has an extensive understanding of the human body and a keen intuition that pinpoints the root cause of symptoms and illnesses. Amber has studied with Tano Lucero, indigenous medicine leaders, Anthony William, and other leading experts. She teaches FootZonology at Nordblom American Institute and has a thriving online community centered on natural health. Her passion and greatest desire is to empower you to heal and thrive, not only physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am really excited today to have Amber here with us. She is going to answer all your questions about foot zoning, because a few weeks ago, I posted something on Instagram about me having a foot zoning done, and I had thousands of DMs, so many questions, and so I brought an expert on today to answer all your questions. And so thank you, Amber, for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Will you tell my listeners a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you started practicing foot zoning?
Yes, so a loaded question. Yes, so I actually did graphic design for well over a decade in the Silicon Valley, specializing in corporate identity. And it wasn't until I had my first son, and he had lots of health challenges, lots of health problems. And I, to be honest, was searching for something more, because I just felt like every time he went to the doctor, specialist, ran tests, he was on more medications, but also brought a lot more problems. So I was really looking for something outside of the box. So it put me on this quest to find other alternatives to help assist him with his condition so he can have a better quality of life. And really quickly, he was diagnosed with autism, liver failure, lung disorders, severe psoriasis, eczema, and a little bit of a backstory. We had problems getting pregnant, and I just yearned to have a child. And then I have this child, which is bright and beautiful, but it was extremely challenging in many ways. And I was just like, there's got to be a better way, or if anything, let's help him have a better quality of life. So I went out on this journey, and to shorten things up a little bit, I found FootZoning, and it was actually through a gal in Utah who lived down the street from my sister. And I went there, and first of all, I wanted to see what this was all about before I had my son do it. And when she worked on me, within the first couple of minutes, she told me, oh, you have problems with infertility, problems getting pregnant. She named some things off that was going on with my body that nobody else had known about. So it really triggered me. And then right after my appointment, I had my son's appointment. And right off the bat, just looking at his feet, she was able to see what was going on in his body. And it just rang true. It made sense to me. And of course, she nailed all the things that were going on with him that he'd already been diagnosed with. And her position on it was just like, hey, why don't you just try these things and see what happens? Well, one beautiful thing that did take place is right after the treatment is my son made eye contact with me, and he hadn't made eye contact with me in months. And we were doing therapy to try to, get him to make eye contact so that we can have more communication. That just wasn't working. And so right then and there, I knew something beautiful was taking place within his body after this treatment. So of course it triggered me like, oh my gosh, we got to do this more often. Well, I lived in California and she was in Utah. And I just thought, well, we have hundreds and thousands of dollars in doctor bills. Why not just fly out to go see her? So we did that a bunch. And to make a really long story short, within 9 months, he was no longer autistic. His diagnosis was retracted. His legs that were extremely bowed were about halfway corrected. He no longer had psoriasis, eczema. His liver enzymes were back to normal. We hadn't been to the hospital for breathing treatments, or he was able to get off all his asthma medications. So it was a huge success. And with this, the woman that I was seeing, she kept saying, why don't you learn how to do this? And I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way. I've got so many things on my plate. And she really encouraged me to do it. But fast forward, with all the times that my son got treated, I also got treated because I had some conditions long going. I just thought, oh, this is me. I always get bronchitis a couple times every year. I've got blood sugar issues at a young age. And it was just like, oh, it's just who I am. But I didn't realize that there was something that could be done with this. Well, fast forward, I actually get pregnant naturally with my second son, which they told me I'd probably never be able to get pregnant naturally. And here I have son number 2, and child number 2 had brain tumors. And so it just catapulted me into this space of like, oh, I have to learn how to take care of myself and my family and my children the best I can. So I went on this journey to learn how to do FootZoning because that was the one tool that helped my son heal. So I went on and jumped in 2 feet into learning FootZoning and not really knowing how and how much this would, how much time and energy it would take and what would become out of it. But I quickly realized that this is what I need to be doing. As I learned more about the human body and learned more of the tools and resources to learn how to take care of my children. Once I graduated in FootZoning, I couldn't get enough. So I went on to learn more. I went on to get master's FootZoning. I did face zoning and back zoning. I went on to get my master's in nutrition, master's in herbology, just so that I can really learn and understand how the human body works and how the systems work together so that I can take care of my children the best they can. So to answer your question, my children really catapulted me into this journey of learning, and they assisted me in becoming a FootZoner.
Wow, that's an incredible backstory. I actually didn't realize that was your backstory. So I want to ask you a lot of questions about things that you just said, but let's start at the basics for those that are new to FootZoning. What is FootZoning?
FootZoning is when you access the signal systems on the feet, help rebalance the body, rejuvenate the body, detox the body, and raise the life energy in the body so that your body can heal. A FootZoner does not heal your body. Your body heals itself. It just needs a little bit of help doing that. On the bottom of the feet, there are hundreds and thousands of different signal systems. If you look at the anatomy on the feet and the nervous system, there are just hundreds and thousands of nerves that come down to the feet. So it's a very intricate place. And those nerves travel throughout the body and they're connected to all different systems and all different organs. It's very similar to reflexology, or you can say there's a lot of acupressure points on the bottom of the feet that are directly connected to different organs. Now with FootZoning, you use your hands and your knuckles to access those signal points to reset the body. And depending on what the body needs to do, it will do. If it needs to rebalance it, it will do that. If it needs to detox, it will do that so that it can begin to heal. But something else that's so beautiful about FootZoning is you can analyze the current condition of the body through the feet. Depending on if that signal system is swollen, if it's indented, depending on what it feels like, if is it sandy, is it rocky, is it smooth, is it slippery, it will help you understand what is going on in the body. So what I love about FootZoning is as a treatment, but it's also an analysis. So you can really understand how your body is functioning under the surface, and you can detect things in the body before you actually have symptoms of them. So it's extremely helpful and beneficial on someone's healing journey, but also really understanding one's health.
So interesting. So, can it only be done on feet or can you do it on hands, things like that?
Ah, good question. Yeah. So the feet are the most intricate. So if you're wanting to get the most detail and the most finite information, you want to go to the feet because that's where you find the most nerve endings. But you can also do it on the face. You could do it on the back and you can do it on the hands. So I'm actually a trained practitioner and also an instructor on how to teach that. The face is more of the mental body. So when you're really wanting to dive into the mental body, you want to work the face, but there are also lots of signal systems within the face that are connected to the rest of the body. The back is more the emotional body. So when you're doing a back zoning on somebody, you can really get into the organs and release emotions that are stored within the back. The hands are more the etherical body. They're connected directly to the heart. You follow the arm up, and this really helps one dive into the etherical, the spiritual, really connecting the soul, the physical body to the heart, which is really helpful on people's healing journey if they've got some blocks or just when they're in a world of confusion. So yes, there are different areas that you can work on in the body, but the feet are the most intricate and the most detailed.
Okay, that's good to know. So, on the feet, are there certain parts of the feet that are connected to the different parts of the body? So, for instance,
Yes.
like the liver shows somewhere on the feet and the brain shows
Yes.
somewhere on the feet.
Yes, absolutely. So you have a pattern on the bottom of your feet that mirrors the organs and systems within the body. So all systems and organs are on the bottom of the feet, the sides of the feet, or the tops of the feet. So you're dealing with lymph, circulation, digestion, hormones, the nerves, the brain, the fluid in the body. It's all there. So when you look at the bottom of someone's feet, if you see swellings or if you see indentations or discoloring in certain areas, you can immediately understand what organs are stressed. But yes, everybody has that same, we call it a blueprint. Everybody has that blueprint on the bottom of the feet. Just if you were to build a house, you need that blueprint so you can understand the structure of the house. Every single one of us has a blueprint on the bottom of our feet.
And so, if you see something wrong on the feet, then you can spend time on that organ helping it.
Yes. Yeah. So let's say we look at the bottom of the feet and I notice your liver is swollen. You can work in that area to help lessen the stress or the burden within the liver. Now, some livers need a detox in order to balance themselves out. Some livers just need to recycle the hormones because they're not recycling the hormones very well. So when you trigger that, it can automatically reset that system so it can do what it needs to do. But one thing is, what I want to mention is if you're finding a really good foot zoner to work with, they understand that the liver has all these different systems that run into it. So if the liver is not getting good circulation, it's not going to function very well. If the lymph around the liver is very stagnant and stuck, it doesn't matter how many times you go work on the liver, it's going to fall back to how it was functioning with a congested lymphatic system. So when working on the liver, you've got to say, okay, what is flowing into the liver, what's flowing out? Look at the circulation, the lymph, the nerves, clear those systems, and then go in and work in the liver so that it can clean itself out, it can rejuvenate, it can recycle those hormones, it can clean up the filters, it can begin its metabolic exchanges so that you can really get a good healing or a good rejuvenation in that liver.
Because all the organs and systems work together.
Yes,
It's not
a
just
hundred
individual
percent.
pieces.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so people doing foot zones, the foot zoners,
Yeah.
can they make diagnoses about medical issues?
So a foot zoner cannot legally diagnose, but you can suggest and let them know what is going on in their body. So I can't legally diagnose that somebody has cancer in the body, but I can let them know that they have a very strong burden and they have some ailments in these areas and they absolutely need to take care of it. And these are some things that might show up as. So let's say, for example, like I just had someone in my office and their nervous system, I noticed immediately right off their bat that their myelin sheath, which is the outer covering of the nerve, was frayed. Now, in the medical field, they will diagnose that as MS and a couple other disorders. I would just say, I notice that there is a burden in the myelin sheath and it feels frayed. And we need to go in there and correct that, either with diet or with herbs or with emotions, clear those emotions out of the body, look at the toxins in your environment so that the body can heal. And I would say in the medical field, they might mention it to be a condition as MS or, a couple other things. But what I'm seeing is just there's a burden in the myelin sheath. So legally, we cannot diagnose, but yes, you can see things that are going on in the body.
And so then would a foot zoner maybe recommend going to a doctor or a specialist to work on whatever needs to be done?
Yeah, it depends on it. So for me, when working with my clients, I always give them all the information that I have. And I said, you need to do what you feel is best. If you need to go to a specialist or a doctor, or if you wanted to really dive in deep and get your body working at its highest capacity, I would recommend you doing a foot zone 2 times a week or 5 times a week or 3 times a month, depending on their condition, but would also give them recommendations of looking at other things in their life. What are their relationships like? What are the toxins in their food and their environment? Because if the fish has dirty water, and if you never clean up the water in the outside environment, the same problem is going to arise. So what I do love about foot zoning is it gets to the root cause so that you can really make a transformation in your health.
Okay, so this is sort of interesting. I think I had a foot zone done, maybe a year ago. And the foot zoner was like, I think there's something in your colon. I think you should maybe go get a colonoscopy. And so I did, and there was a polyp in there. And so I was amazed that she could tell that by the feet.
Yes, because all those signals are in the feet. So when she was probably going over the colon, she felt a disturbance or a growth or a disruption there, and noticed that's not supposed to be there. There is something going on. So she probably worked on it and it wasn't moving. So then that's where she probably said, hey, you probably want to go get this checked out. There is something there.
Yeah, it was so interesting. Okay, so you can't make a diagnosis, but can you claim that it heals things?
You can't claim that it heals. And so it is with really, honestly, with anything in the holistic arena. You can't claim it heals, but what I can claim is that we can do things to assist your body to help your body heal. Again, we don't heal. We don't have those magic potions. What we're doing is we are here to help assist your body in doing what it needs to do so that you can heal. Have I had people, clients, my own family have miraculous healings? Absolutely. But we cannot claim that we heal the body. We just help the body do what it needs to do, which is the body heals itself.
Okay, that's interesting. So going back to imbalances that you were talking about, I'm really curious what imbalances can be found in our feet, because I have a friend who's like, I am not going to go see a foot zoner because she's going to tell me everything wrong in my life, So if someone has a poor diet, does that show up in your feet?
Absolutely. Because you can see where the body is not assimilating certain foods, where toxic or burden foods or foods that your body's not assimilating, your body will start to shove it different places. It will shove it in the lymph. It will shove it in your glandular system. It'll just tuck it away in the liver, and it will cause backup in those areas. And so you can immediately see it. Now, for me, I'm doing this, for 15, 17 years. You immediately can see and sense it, like, oh, this is dairy. Oh, these are nuts. Oh, these are some canola oil. Oh, right here, this is pork. Your body's not processing pork. It's causing a problem.
Really?
So depending on what it feels like, and depending on when you work on it, how it responds can let you know what it is. So absolutely, you can see diet, whether it's working for you or not working for you. And this is why I love foot zoning, because there are some things that certain people can't have and other people can have. And you can tell right off the bat what is best for you and your body.
That's fascinating. So a foot zoner should be able to say, like, that gluten's not doing well in your body?
Yes, absolutely. But that glyphosate, it's really gathering right around your thyroid, or it's really gathering around that right ovary. There's going to be a problem in the near future. Yes.
Okay, so that was my next question, was pesticides, herbicides, those can be detected as well as imbalances.
Absolutely. And a lot of times for me, I pick them up if they're within a large amount recently, within the last 3 or 4 years. I'll find it in a very specific spot in the liver. Also find it in the spleen and certain areas of the lymph. And then when those areas get full, the body just starts pushing it other places. But also, if there is a weakness in the body, a lot of those toxins will gravitate towards that weak point. So if somebody has a weakness in the head, that's usually where it will go to, along with those other places that I mentioned. So everybody is different, but yeah, absolutely, you can pick up on those toxins.
So when you pick up on those toxins, like the pesticides, are you able as a foot zoner to detox them?
Yes, you can. So working on the feet, We'll help detox them, and then also giving them recommendations of what certain things would help pull these out of the system in a gentle way, certain things that they can eat, remedies they can take, or lifestyle improvements that they can do to help pull these out of the body. And also one thing is just to be aware. What I love about FootZoning gives people hope and awareness, because a lot of people aren't even aware that they're getting glyphosate or that they're getting those. So you start saying, okay, let's start being more aware of where you can be getting this so that they can empower themselves to make some positive changes in their life.
Okay, that's fascinating. So now talking about imbalances, I'm assuming then you can figure out if someone's dealing with heavy metals.
Yes, absolutely. You can feel them. They're very sharp. Some of them feel a little sandy and sharp, but absolutely. Sometimes you'll feel them in the bones. You'll feel them in the brain, in the nervous system, but then also a lot in the liver. So absolutely, you can detect them and feel them. You can help pull them out of the body when you're working on them. It helps support the systems in the body so that it can detox it easier. But then again, start brainstorming, where are they picking these up from?
Right. Where are
So
they
that they
coming
can make
from?
those changes. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about diet, heavy metals, pesticides, things like that. But what about emotional disturbances or emotional imbalances? Does FootZoning pick those up as well?
Absolutely. What I love about FootZoning is it focuses on 4 areas when you're working on the feet: physical, mental, emotional, and etherical. And there is a grid. It's actually a horizontal grid system that moves across the bottom of both feet that really hone into the emotional bodies. And it correlates a lot with the chakras, but you can see the types of emotions and where they sit in the body. Then there is a vertical grid system, or we call a mental system pathways, that you can see where mental blocks are physically affecting the body. And so when you're working on the body, you're working on those grids or those vertical or horizontal systems, and you can clear emotional stagnations, emotional burdens that are sitting in the body. And you can also clear mental stagnations in the body. Someone has a thought process of belief that is not in alignment with their higher self, you can clear that. And when you do that, you notice a big, massive shift in their health and the way they carry themselves and the way they operate through life. So absolutely. I mean, I've had thousands of times people sitting in my chair and just start sobbing uncontrollably, and they don't even know why. And it's just an area that I'm releasing, and their body's ready to release what is no longer serving them, and notice a huge shift in their physical health. And yeah, you could do that with mental health as well.
Okay, so these emotions are stored in our organs and our cells, correct?
Correct. Yes, you are correct.
And so using FootZoning just helps release them out of those organs and cells?
Yes. So me as a practitioner, when I go in there and I feel the emotion or I see the emotion, I go in there and work. I have the ability to release it or to open it or uncover it. But also, even as much work as I do, if the person has some really thick walls and they're not ready to release that, the practitioner can do as much as they can, but until that person is willing to release and let it go, it doesn't. And I'm sure you've probably noticed that with people, they just hold on to those belief systems, or they're just holding on to that emotion because they feel like it's serving them in some way. But the practitioner can do as much as they can and release that. But sometimes the person will just be really strong and stubborn and not want to let that go, but they can crack it open just a little bit. By hitting the signal systems on the feet, you're resetting. So when you reset, what no longer serves, it will release and let it go, or it will slowly crack it open so it can find its way out. And so a lot of times when someone's sitting in the chair, they're giving you permission to work on their body. And they're in a relaxed state, and you can go in there and release those things, and they start to just have emotions that get released right in the chair, which can be very helpful, because then you start to notice a huge physical shift in the body.
A lot of people these days hold on to, I feel like, a lot of frustration or a lot of anger. And so you're able to help them let go of this.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of times we'll talk about anger, a lot of the time that is stored in the liver. So we have to see what's the overall health of the liver, because if the liver is burdened, if it's stagnant or sluggish, someone is going to be more apt to be more irritable and more angry, just because that liver is not functioning very well. But it can also go the other way, where if someone's angry a lot with their emotional, mental things, it literally creates a stagnant, sluggish liver. So again, when working on somebody, yes, you want to go into that liver if they're angry and irritable, clean that out, but also clear the emotions and the mental stagnations that are tied to anger and irritability so that you can have a true healing, a true rebirth, a true renewal of the body.
Okay, so talking about what people are dealing with, I've come across a lot of people, including myself, that are dealing with a lot of stress. So does foot zoning help those that just have a lot of stress?
Yes, absolutely, because you're working on the nervous system. And so when you go in and work on the nervous system, you calm the nervous system. You get the nervous system to function at its highest capacity. So now the nervous system is going to be more responsive and not reactive. Because a lot of times when we're under stress, we just react because our nervous system are like hot wires. And it's just like, and everything is just irritating and overwhelming. But if you can get your nervous system to be functioning at a higher capacity in a much smoother and easeful way, you're going to be able to respond to things and not react. And this is why it's extremely helpful to have a foot zoning done if somebody is under a lot of stress, because it helps calm the body, soothe the body, and also brings clarity to the mind, again, so that we can respond in a loving manner and not just be so reactive to all the different things that are going on in our life.
Okay, so if someone is wanting a foot zoning done for any of these reasons or just for stress, is it a one-time deal and you're done, or do you come every day or once a month? How do you know how many times
How
to
does
do
it
it?
work? So, a very good question, very loaded question. Every single person is different, right? So, if somebody is going under a lot of stress, we'll say their relationship, their marriage is not quite well, and they get a foot zoning done, it's going to help them absolutely. But if they keep going back to that toxic environment or relationship, they're going to need continual foot zones. But somebody else who's removing themselves from a toxic environment and you're doing foot zoning and they're in a good space, you can maybe zone them once a month and maybe they do it 3 or 4 times and that's it. So it really depends on the condition. For example, if someone's in a work environment where they're getting exposed to chemicals all the time, I deal with this a lot with clients where they know their work field is actually making them sick, but it's like they have this double thing going on. We're like, but I have to work because I have to pay my bills. So in that sense, we just do foot zoning a lot to make sure that their systems are open or flowing and their excretory organs are able to just detox these chemicals that they're being exposed to until they can find another job. So there are some people that need every day. Like people come to me with stage 4 cancer. It's like, we're going to be zoning you 3 to 4 times a week until we can get certain things under control, get certain systems operating at their highest capacity so we can get you into a better place. And then along with that, their environment, like what are they eating and what are they being exposed to? What kind of relationships are they burying themselves in? So it's this intricate formula for each person. But honestly, a lot of times it's just intuition. It's like, okay, you're really going to need to come see me this many times or do more of this so you don't have to see me as often. And there are some people I say the ball's in your court. You choose, when you feel like you need it, call me up and come, or you never have to come see me again. I put it on, I put it on them.
Okay, so it's not the magic pill. Foot zoning is not a magic pill. You also have to do your part with eating healthy and trying to calm down your stress and getting good sleep and all the good lifestyle factors that we know we should do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so foot zoning, can it be done on any age or only adults, babies?
Yeah. Yes, it can be done on anyone. I have zoned a baby that's about 3 minutes old right outside the womb because they
wow.
knew some things that were going on and we wanted to hit it right away to see if we can reset the system. And I also have a client who's 106 years old
Oh,
and
wow.
anything in between. So any different walk of life. Yeah. So from the time you come out of the womb till your longest years, we can work on your feet.
That's so good to know. Okay, so with foot zoning, I know some of my listeners have asked me this before. They always want to know if it hurts.
So it can be tender in some areas where there's a problem, where there's a burden, where there's an ailment, or where there's a lot of emotion stored there. It can be a little tender. Some people, it's not painful at all. Most people feel like it's relaxing, but it can be depending on what ailments are sitting in what areas of the body.
Okay. I know the very first time I had it done, it hurt.
Yeah.
Like the next day I was like, oh, I can't walk on my feet. And then
Oh
after that, it was fine. Like I never
no. Yeah.
had another issue. So maybe they just were dealing with a lot of stuff that first time. Who knows?
Yes, and a lot of clearing, but also too, each practitioner has different pressure they use. And it's just personality of the practitioner. Some people go really light, some people go really hard and dig in there and deep and go in deep and clear things. So it maybe they were getting in there and digging some things out, but yeah, but most of the time it's just, it can be tender in areas that it's not, that there are some ailments going on there.
And for you listeners, I actually find it really relaxing now. I love it. It's a time to just relax. Okay, so another question for you. When I posted that I was getting a foot zoning done, I had quite a few people DM and say, I dealt with depression and foot zoning was a lifesaver for me. And so I dealt with depression years ago, and my page, my account, I talk a lot about mental health and healing from mental health. So we can't claim that foot zoning cures depression, but foot zoning can help depression, correct?
Absolutely. It can help your body get back in balance so that your mind and body can function at its highest capacity. And so a lot of people's mental health, it can be burdened for many different reasons. Maybe there's some emotional stuff. Maybe there's some chemical imbalance. Maybe the hormones are off. Maybe you're being exposed to some things that are affecting the neurotransmitters in the brain. Maybe your circadian rhythm is off. So it can be many different things. And when you're doing foot zoning, you're rebalancing all those systems. And the foot zoner, they're trained well. They will give you recommendations for area to improve certain areas where they're seeing and picking up ailments. So absolutely, I've had many clients get completely off of their medications. And of course, they were working with the doctor to slowly wean themselves off those medications. But as we get the body back in balance, your brain is going to function at such a higher capacity. That's the nerves in the brains, the ventricle in the brains, the matter in the brain, and so many different systems within the body that affect the brain. So absolutely, it's been huge. And also, again, going back to when working on the feet, we're clearing emotional and mental disturbances in the body. And so if those are causing the mental health to be off just a little bit, you're working on that whole arena as well.
And when you say mental disturbances, what do you mean?
People can have mental disturbances as far as old memories that are stored in the brain that create trauma in the body. For example, I had a client who could just never step foot in the hospital because she would go into the hospital and she could have an extreme panic attack, even though nothing was wrong with her or nothing was really wrong with the person that she was going to see. But I see this in the brain. There's a trauma associated with this. And what happens was, long ago, when she went to go visit her grandmother in the hospital, just that smell, the fluorescent lights, the sterile environment was, those imprints were in her mind, because when she went to go see her grandma, she actually passed away at her, when she went to go see her. And that was huge trauma and a mental disturbance that was imprinted in the brain. So anything that resembled the hospital or the smell of the hospital or just stepping foot in, she would go into this massive, almost hysteria and panic attack, heart pounding. So when you go into the body, when you're working on the foot, you go into the limbic system, which records all your records, what you smell, what you see, what you feel, touch, all of that, what you hear. And you can clear those things. You can clear all those memories or incidents that are not in alignment with who you are. So this is a mental disturbance, or let's say someone witnessed a car accident. So now they just can't get in a car anymore because there's that fear. That is a mental disturbance in the body that is blocking them from moving on with their life. So you go and clear things out. I want to share a quick example. Years ago, when I was working on a client, she comes on a regular basis because she loves the way it makes her feel, and she just feels she works at her optimum. She's got quite a bit of kids, and she just feels like she's a better mom when she gets a regular foot zone done. Well, she came for her appointment one day, and I noticed in the hearing center and the limbic system, like soon as I went over it, I started hearing screeching. I started feeling really off. And there was a lot going on in there that I was feeling. And I thought, what is it that you heard that was really disturbing since the last time I saw you? And she's like, nothing. I'm like, anything that someone has said that has really disturbed you, or anything, a sound that you heard? And she's like, no. I was like, okay, it's interesting, because the way it was sitting in the limbic system, I noticed if it wasn't taken care of, Soon, because of where that meridian is, it was going to affect the pancreas over a period of time. So anyways, I got in there and cleared it. She noticed she just felt better overall, even though she hadn't pinpoint anything walking into the office, but she knows the big shift after she left. Well, later on that evening, she called me. She's like, oh my gosh, Amber, I remember in the middle of the night, they had caught a rat in a rat trap. And there was this screeching sound that literally put just chills up and down her spine, and she couldn't sleep. The sound, the noise just created this disturbance in her body. So that little thing, it was interesting. That noise triggered emotion, and it was literally affecting her body. And so it's just fascinating how you can pick up things in the brain with things that people, these mental things that people pick up on that can lead to a disturbance within the body.
That's so interesting. Something as simple as the mouse. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talked about meridians. So are you using the meridians in the FootZoning?
So in FootZoning, so there's meridians within the body. Yes. Chinese medicine, acupuncture, there's different meridians, there's energy lines, but also within FootZoning, there are specific meridians, the mental meridians and the emotional meridians that run horizontal. So it's its own graph and its own grid system within the bottom of the feet. So let's say you have a mental disturbance with something that you're seeing. We see how it comes down and which organs it affects. And then if you actually have a horizontal energy line, or we call it an emotional line, on top of that, we can actually foresee where exactly there's going to be a disturbance in the body. It's like where these two lines meet. So yes, there are meridians, and FootZoning has its own meridians within the feet.
Okay, so when you were talking about the grid earlier, you were talking about meridians.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So going back to healing and helping people with things, we talked about mental health. Another issue that a lot of my followers deal with is hormonal imbalances. So how does FootZoning help the body balance those hormones?
So when you're working on someone's feet, you're working the entire endocrine system, which is the glandular system, all the glands and the hormones within the body. When I do a FootZone, I do the exact same FootZone on somebody who comes to me with an ear infection, someone comes to me with cancer, or someone comes to me with a hormone imbalance, because you want to make sure all systems are operating at their highest capacity, because hormones are delivered through the bloodstream. And if your blood's off, or your blood's dirty, or the liver's not filtering the blood very well, absolutely you're going to have a hormonal problem. And maybe it's not the thyroid, because maybe the thyroid is producing all the hormones it needs to at the volume it needs to, but the delivery system is off. So when people come to me and they say, oh, I've got hormonal problems, I'm still going to treat the whole entire body, but I'm also going to be very particular on looking much deeper on any organ or system that has to do with the hormones. So everybody's hormonal imbalance could be stemmed from a different region of the body, but we're looking at everything. So are the adrenals off? Is the thyroid off? Is there a virus embedded in the thyroid? Or is the throat chakra off? That someone's not being able to speak their truth. And that's literally going to affect the physical health of the thyroid. Or is the liver is just too stagnant, too sluggish. It's not methylating very well. And the liver is now no longer recycling the hormones or getting rid of the hormones that it no longer needs. So the whole hormonal system, the check and balance is off. They think certain hormones are circulating the system, but reality they're not, because the liver has not been recycling them. So when someone gets a FootZone to help balance their hormones, absolutely it can help. And what I love about it is you can go in and find the root cause where that imbalance is within the hormonal system.
That's incredible that you can find the root cause, because people will spend hundreds, even thousands of dollars going and doing hormonal tests.
Absolutely. And there was a big study done in the UK years ago that actually hormonal tests are only 13% accurate, because it depends on what your life was like that day, what emotions, what food you ate, and it could be totally off the board. For example, I had a client come to me, same day she brought her thyroid test. These thyroid tests were done on the same day from the same lab, but at 11 o'clock, she had her endocrinologist run labs. And then when she went and saw her normal practitioner, they wanted to run labs as well. It was like at 3:30. Well, she got these labs, and one of them said she had Hashimoto's, and the other one said she was perfectly fine within normal range. So you're going like, how is this possible? It came from the same lab, but it just depends on what's going on that day, what her emotions were like, and it could totally throw things off. So I usually tell people when you're getting hormone tests or blood work, take it with a grain of salt. You've got to look at the big picture and always get a second or third test done, because one could be totally off and it could throw somebody in a downward spiral, getting some results that maybe aren't so accurate.
Okay, I've asked you about mental health and hormonal imbalances, but I'm curious, what about people with chronic pain? Does it help that?
Absolutely, because with chronic pain, there is obviously a disturbance in the body. And so when you're foot zoning somebody, you can see where a disturbance or an ailment, a disruption is. So is the pain actually coming from the nerves that aren't working right? Is an emotional imbalance that it's creating pain in the body? Or is it actually a physical structure like a slipped disc or a vertebrae that's cracked or a broken bone or whatever it is? So absolutely. But it's also, as far as like chronic systemic pain, you can see and feel the inflammation in the body, and you could see where it's stemming from. So for example, I had a client who they were working at an office space that was literally making them sick. And with talking with them, we noticed that this chronic pain started coming about 3 to 4 months after they were working. And I noticed when working on the feet, more of this inflammation, the systemic inflammation, was settled in the lungs. So I'm like, it had to be something they were breathing in. And as I worked in a couple different areas in the body, I quickly noticed it was mold. So I just thought, okay, if you started working this place and it came shortly after that, there's got to be mold somewhere. So he brought it to his boss and he said, no, we detected everything. Well, every time I would zone him, we'd clear this mold out. I gave him recommendations what to do to also help pull the mold out. But I would still find a little bit more every time we foot zoned him. Well, 6 months after we first kind of found out this was mold that he was breathing in, and it was coming from his office, they had the ducts all redone in his office, and come to find out black mold was caked in all of those ducts.
Oh,
And
wow.
so again, doing foot zoning, how does it help with chronic pain? It helps you see and understand where the root cause is coming from. And it helps you clear things out of the body to lower the pain, lessen the pain, or get rid of your pain altogether. I've had someone who is in a wheelchair come with extreme pain. They left not going out in their wheelchair, actually being able to walk. Like one treatment was able to pull that inflammation out enough to where they can use their body. And of course, everybody's situation is different, but absolutely it can help with pain and chronic pain.
That's fascinating. And I love that it finds the root cause.
Yes.
So, talking about that, autoimmune issues, those are rampant, I feel like today. So, can you help those with autoimmune issues?
Absolutely. Autoimmune is, as you know, is on the rise. And depending on obviously where the ailment is in the body, we can do something about it. And again, going to the root cause, finding the root cause. So example, a lot of people who come to me with autoimmune disease, I have found a common denominator. Again, it's not with everybody, but it is a pretty common one where there is undetected viral loads within the system. And it's like, once you can target that virus and you can bring down that viral load or get rid of it altogether, it's like their chronic condition goes away, their autoimmune disease goes away. And so viruses and or bacteria, pathogens in the body can really disrupt the way the body operates. It can create a lot of inflammation. Viral debris creates a lot of toxins in the body. It can throw off your hormones. It can throw off your nervous system. It can throw off the way that your brain even functions. And it can be extremely challenging and also brings on a lot of fatigue and a lot of disruptions in the body. So absolutely, foot zoning has been extremely helpful for people that have been diagnosed with autoimmune diseases because you can find out where the root cause is. I actually don't believe that your body attacks itself. Your body is made to help you. It's always 24/7 working for you. So the question is, what is not being able to be seen on x-rays and CT scans and MRIs and blood work that is going on underneath the surface? And if we can pinpoint that and see it, then we can start to make changes for the betterment of the person, and they can find health and healing. And so they can go about doing their life, fulfilling their calling without all this pain and discomfort. So absolutely, I've actually helped thousands of people overcome their autoimmune diseases.
It's incredible that foot zoning can help so many different issues, but yet it's not common today. So, if there's so many benefits to foot zoning with healing or even diagnosis of things, why is it not more common?
I would like to ask that too, because I never heard of foot zoning until I went through my own journey of healing with my kids. And it was just because I was searching for something. I think there's a lot of amazing, magnificent tools and resources that we have that are grassroots and that they've been around for thousands of years, but they're just not in mainstream media anymore. And we could probably talk about that. And that's a whole nother subject where things just get put on the down low for many different reasons. But I look at all the different cultures and traditions and different styles of medicine throughout the years, decades, thousands of years. And you look at these tools that people used and they worked. And they actually looked at the body as a whole and all the systems put together. And there are some amazing tools and resources out there. They're just not in mainstream media. It's sometimes challenging to find. And it was only through my just deep mother's request to find something that would improve the health and the life of my son and also our family that I was able to find FootZoning.
So are you ever told that FootZoning is like voodoo?
Oh, totally. All the time. And that's okay. That's great. I had one time a gentleman leave a message on my phone. My assistant had me listen to it. It was so funny and so cute at the same time. Just like, I'm looking for that foot whisperer lady. She like looks at your feet. She tells you what's going on. But I get it all the time. Voodoo, witchcraft, woo-woo, you name it. Yeah.
And you think it's just people that aren't ready to accept the holistic approach to healing?
Absolutely. They just don't understand it. Yeah.
Okay, so if listeners are like, oh, I really want to try this, where do they go look for a practitioner? Because it's not common, so it's sometimes hard to find them.
Yes, it is. And you want to get a good practitioner. So there's a lot of different FootZoners out there and a lot of different varieties. So you really want to ask where the person was trained from. And there's a couple really good institutes out there. A really good resource is the afzpa.org, and it will give you a list of different practitioners. I, at one time, had a list of practitioners that I would vet on my website, and I'm reworking my website, and that's not up right now, but hopefully we'll get that up there really soon. But you also want to find somebody that's been doing it for a while, because FootZoning is definitely a tool and a modality that you can learn. But when there is a practitioner that has seen hundreds and thousands of clients, the more experience you have, the more quick, the more finite, the more discernment they're going to be able to bring to the table when they are working on you.
And so I had someone tell me the other day, actually my sister, who had a foot zoning done, and she was like, they didn't tell me anything the whole time. It was just like a foot massage. So that's not right, right? Like they should be telling you stuff.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, so you want to find someone who's really good at what they do, and maybe ask them where they got trained, certified, and how long they've been doing it. Because there are some people, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, especially if people come to me like, I've had a foot zone before and no one told me anything. And I have a hard time when working with a client in that hour, like I'm rattling stuff off the whole time, because my thing is I want to give them as much information so they can empower themselves with tools and resources to make a shift in their life, and so that they can have a higher quality of life. But if you're going to be going to someone and they're going to give you a foot massage, that's great, but that's really not a deep foot zoning. You want someone to be able to analyze the current condition of the body and let you know what's going on so that you can make changes in your life to improve your health.
And it's not all negative stuff that they'll tell you. They actually will tell you positive things about your health as well, right?
Absolutely. They'll let you know what things are working, what things are good, maybe certain areas you might want to be aware of, some simple changes that they can do.
So if someone's looking for a foot zoner, can they look for someone that does reflexology, or that's different?
It's totally different. So if you look at reflexology and compare it to foot zoning is like reflexology on steroids times 10. And how that is reflexology, you go and push certain buttons. FootZonology is when you're treating the whole entire body and all systems within in every single treatment. Because let's say you have a liver problem. You go to the liver in reflexology and you start poking and prodding and resetting the liver. But what about the circulation going into the liver? What about the lymphatic system going into the liver? What about the hormone conversions that are going on in the liver? What about the emotions that are stored in the liver? So you can reset that, but in order to make a big shift in someone's health, you've got to look at the big picture. And so that's where reflexology, comparison to foot zoning, reflexology, if there was a word, I would say it's incomplete, versus foot zoning is much more intricate, more detailed, and is going to give you a lot more information how your body is working with all the systems intertwined.
Okay, that's really good to know. So if my listeners want to learn more about this from you, where would they find you?
You can visit my website, amberbodyhealth.com. You can also find me on Instagram, and my handle is amberbodyhealth. And you can email us. You can go online and schedule an appointment. You could do that all from the website.
Oh, so you still practice FootZoning, so people can get a FootZone from you?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So where are you located?
I am actually located in 2 places. I'm located in California and also Hawaii.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, I might have to come on vacation.
I was going to say, darn, I was just in Hawaii about a month ago. So
yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much for being here. I know my listeners have learned a ton. I actually am motivated to go do FootZoning more often. I know my stress and my body could probably benefit from it. So thank you so much for everything you shared and taught us today. I always end my podcast with asking my guests what they have found to be the best ingredient in life. What would you say it is?
Well, it's a toss-up. My 2 ingredients would be hope and joy. If people have hope, they can take that next step, and it really ignites an actual physical change in the body when someone has hope. And when someone has joy, it brings a spring in their step. It literally changes the mitochondria in the cells. So I think if you can sprinkle a little hope and a little joy in every day, you'll be doing pretty good.
Oh, I love that so much. It's true. Life can be so hard and full of so many stresses and negative things. But if you just have hope and can find a little joy, even in the hard times, it makes life so much better.
Absolutely. It can carry you. Mm-hmm.
I agree. Well, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and teaching us all of this. So thank you.
You are so welcome. And thank you for creating this space. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe to the Just Ingredients podcast to learn more about your health and good ingredients to life. Plus, get daily tips at just.ingredients on Instagram.